This may just be me, but Kickstarter games feel like they're on the decline lately. Of the high-profile crowdfunding projects to see the light of day, I can really only think of one that I've personally played that was actually any good, and that was Shovel Knight. Of the two that I've personally backed, one was an absolute disappointment, and the other, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, had been pushed back far beyond its initial expected release date. However, to the surprise of myself and many people who have been looking forward to this game since its announcement, it's actually really goddamn good. Not only is Bloodstained a worthy spiritual successor to the Metroid-Vanias style entries in the Castlevania franchise, it's a damn fun game in its own right. In case you missed it, this is sort of a disclaimer. I did back the game and I do like it a lot, but if that makes my review too biased for you, then fair enough. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, much like the series that inspired it, kicks off with the appearance of a massive demonic castle that rains death and destruction down upon the villages surrounding it. Players control Miriam, a young woman cursed with the ability to absorb and use demonic powers, earning her the title of Shardbinder, as she travels through the castle in an attempt to stop its supposed commander, her former friend and fellow Shardbinder, Jeeble. Though the setup is a Castlevania plot through and through, the actual lore and world building of Bloodstained is surprisingly extensive, telling of corrupt religious organizations and complicated plots to reaffirm the world's faith in their teachings. While it is all pretty interesting, the actual writing of the game is every bit as cheesy as you might expect, or hope. We're not quite in "what is a man" territory, but the game has the same sort of tongue-in-cheek tone for the most part. Stylistically though, Bloodstained is an entirely different beast. It may share the perspective of the series it's paying homage to, but the hard cel shading and vibrant colours definitely make more of an impression than any of the 2.5D Castlevania offerings have, for my money at least. The monster design overall doesn't draw from as many classic horror sources as I'd like, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't have some great monsters of its own, like the delightful flying pig known as the Plume Palmer, or the one that's just a giant Maltese Terrier's head. Yep. I've got to give the game props for including so many enemies as well, even if palette-swapped harder versions start appearing more frequently as you get closer to the end, and the game's environments also feature a decent amount of variation. You start off on a rickety old ship in the middle of a storm, but by the end of the game you've travelled through castle halls, moonlit gardens, flooded caverns, and what is practically hell itself. I often find that Metroidvania titles can get a little bit grating if you're stuck in the same area forever, and Bloodstained regularly has new areas to throw at you to keep things from getting stale. The game even does a pretty good job of keeping things interesting in terms of gameplay. Being a Metroidvania style game, the focus is, of course, on exploration, and while Bloodstained does present you with a fairly massive map full of secrets and locked areas to come back to later, I actually found myself more impressed with its combat options than anything. Ritual of the Night offers up a sizable handful of weapons to mow down the Hellhold's demonic inhabitants with, ranging from swords and spears to whips and shoes, for kicking, of course. And on top of that selection, each weapon features a few special moves that are unique to that class of weapon. So if you're the kind of person who might get bored of using the same weapon for hours on end, you not only have a decent selection of weapons to swap between, you also have a decent moveset with each one. The game also scratches that loot itch really well by providing a constant stream of better weapons and gear to get you through the furthest reaches of Bloodstained's massive map. These come from chests or random drops from enemies, though some of the game's better gear is obtained via Bloodstained's surprisingly extensive crafting system. For players who are happy to put in the time and effort, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night has a surprising amount of content to offer, and that's without talking about one of the game's core features, its shards. Bloodstained has plenty of handy powers to dish out across the course of your journey to either help you explore further or to aid you in combat. Beyond the traversal skills that will help you reach new areas, like the double jump or giant grabby hand that lets you move obstructions, there are magical attacks, familiars that accompany you through the world, and stat enhancements, all equipped in the form of shards, which drop randomly from defeated demons. Between the enormous amount of gear, weapons, and magic shards on offer, you're bound to find some combination that you'll like, and while not every power is a winner, the presence of so many options does a solid job of keeping the game from wearing thin. Underneath all of these options are the game's exploration elements, which are perfectly serviceable. The game is pretty simple as far as Metroidvania-style games are concerned, but the map itself is expansive, and there's always tiny, unexplored corners to spark your imagination, making you wonder how you reach that ledge that's just out of reach, or if there's a secret to be found in that one suspiciously empty space on the map. You know the one. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night doesn't reinvent the Metroidvania wheel, but what it provides is bound to keep folks like myself, who just need to uncover the full map, busy for some time, what with all the backtracking in areas that need certain power-ups to access. To top it all off, the game has a fantastic soundtrack to accompany you through hours of exploration, monster fighting, and backtracking. It's very reminiscent of the series that inspired it, featuring plenty of gothic-sounding tracks packed with organs and violins, with the odd sneaky guitar solo or double-kick drums to drive home the awesomeness. The voice acting overall is pretty solid as well, featuring generally enjoyable work from the main cast, though I will say that David Hayter's thinly veiled Solid Snake voice is a little bit distracting at times. The game's little level up and stat improvement chimes though, pitch perfect for that sweet, sweet dopamine injection. Thanks, brain! Seriously though, if you're looking for a fun, gothic-flavoured Metroid-Vania experience without busting out your PS1 and booting up Symphony of the Night, you can do so much worse than Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. The biggest complaint I can level at the game is that the frame rate drops a little bit in one particular area of the game, specifically when the camera pans out to a wider angle, but if you're playing on any system that isn't the Nintendo Switch, you're in for a really enjoyable time. And with that, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is excellent. The game is very hard to put down with its seemingly endless weapons, gear and magic to collect, as well as its massive, ever-present map to slowly uncover. The story is fairly interesting, its characters are charming enough, and the gameplay is pretty fun and varied. Also, yeah, that soundtrack is pure Castlevania-inspired fire. If you are a fan of Symphony of the Night, or Metroid-Vanias in general, you should definitely check this out.